everybody. It's your girl Rachel. I have my special guest Alfonso back again today. But we are back today not to hear his testimony, but to hear about all the stuff that he is doing in the community. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Can you tell everybody what you do in the community?
So I do search and rescue operations here in the east side of DFW. I do active shooter training for churches, schools, and hospitals. And I do the family survival camp, which is kind of like Boy Scouts, but really more for the family. So, I tell the parents, this is not a kids camp, this is a family camp because I want the parents to be just as involved as the kids. And the way the camp is set up is they have to be.
So that's like a main focus for you. You want to make sure the parents are definitely involved in everything their kids know.
Yes. So
Hmm.
about 2 years ago, we actually had a kid who was shot and left for dead in my old church.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, he did pass away. And I went to his funeral, and I saw the mother, and hearing her cry and her story, it broke my heart. And everyone's asking, how did this happen? And we later come to find out that he got shot on a gun sale that went south. And unfortunately, if parents aren't involved, then the kids will, the street gets them. And there's been a lot of instances where we've had a lot of young people, you know, put themselves in bad situations, they end up in jail, in the hospital, or sadly the morgue. So I wanted to give some kids an outlet to actually do something. They're always on their phones or playing video games, trying to have an adventure. Well, it's a great, big, wonderful world. Let's make it a real adventure. I
Hmm.
provide everything, so there's no cost to these events. And, my hope is that I get the families engaged where they can do things together as a family. Because camping can be expensive. If you don't have any camping gear, trying to, buy a tent and organize this and it gets expensive. And not every kid enjoys it, but at least here I give them the opportunity to, is this something I like? Is this something beneficial for the family? Are we going to have a good time? And the class is structured so that one, everyone's learning, and two, everyone's engagement, and lastly, everyone's having fun.
Hmm. And I love that. I love that you are making sure that these kids are focused on a whole lot more than just, games, entertainment, social media. Because the social media, let's be honest, is really taking a lot of people's attention. It's taking a lot of their time, and they
Well,
need to
sadly,
be.
it takes a lot of the parents' time as well. I mean, I've got kids that they're at home and the parents are at home, but no one's talking to each other. I've got kids that are just lonely because yes, mom and dad are here, but at the same time, their mind is not there because they're glued to the phone.
They've kind of become a social media zombie in a way.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And I've heard you say that you do active shooter training for for
So
the schools.
schools, hospitals, nonprofits, pretty much anybody. I mean, I've done nursing homes, I've done a couple of Boy Scouts, I've been involved with active shooter training since 2019. And 2019, we had a crazy man from Allen drive 10 hours to El Paso with one purpose, which was to kill Hispanics. And I was already a firearms instructor, so I got involved with Alert, which is the agency that investigated Uvalde, and I became an instructor with them on the civilian side. So I've been doing it ever since. It's all in English, so I translate the curriculum, and most of the time, police, the curriculum is the same across the board. It's going to be an officer reading off a PowerPoint. Mine is not a PowerPoint. It's very interactive. There's a lot of drills, and there's a lot of audience participation. I've done the classes for the Dallas Office of Emergency Management, Dallas CERT, Dallas Co-Compliance, and we also trained Olive Spring ISD.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I'm thanking you for having that kind of expertise and that kind of knowledge to help, schools, our law enforcement, anybody that's out there that really wants this training for the organization. Like you actually go out there and do this, and it's all nonprofit, right?
I do it for free just because I know law is better than most. So if my training, if my classes help save one life, then it was all worth it.
And it's definitely something that needs to be taught out there because a lot of people they don't know how to defend themselves, they don't know how to survive, they don't know what to do in this kind of circumstance. It's kind of like you're helping them not just not panic, but you're helping them prepare for what may happen, just in
Well,
case.
a lot of it's going to be situational awareness. Can we see the danger before it happens? And then when an incident does happen, I prepare them for the mental and the physical changes that you go through when you're under stress because everything changes. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your vision gets narrow, you start breathing real fast. And if you're not ready for it, then, people tend to panic. What I'm trying to do is, buy you a few seconds. Anyone's ever been to my class, I have a saying that I say at every class, time is life.
Mhm.
One
Um,
of the things that I do is we improvise, we do medical improvisations using what's in our surroundings. So I actually have a drill where I have someone who's a gunshot victim and I throw them a backpack and they have to figure out how to stop the bleed using what's in the backpack. Like I've had even medical personnel actually like, okay, what do I do? Because they're so used to having medical implementations and working in a sterile environment that, when you throw them for a loop, it's like, okay, I've got to think faster.
wow.
So just having that knowledge is to me empowering.
Mm. And sharing that knowledge is amazing. So, how can someone get a hold of you to get one of these classes or certifications?
Oh, they can just reach out to me and just look up Facebook, Alfonso Solis. I am going to work on creating an Instagram and a separate Facebook page for the survival classes. I am under S3 Mesquite, I think, under Facebook, or I'll have to check. I've got to redo my social media just because I'm so involved with doing this. I've kind of I need to be more involved with social media. A lot of my classes is because of Facebook and the information is there, which the classes are free. And
Mhm.
this is my anti-violence plan for the city.
Right, right. So, yeah, it's like really amazing. Like I just saw you were doing a lot of stuff with for the community, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people in Mesquite know you and they respect you because you have this knowledge, because you share it with the community, but you also help educate kids in the school district, right?
I have.
Tell me about that. What has been your best experience with those kids?
So for a lot of the kids, and I hate to say this, I'm the closest thing they have to a father sometimes.
Mm.
So sometimes I'll have kids in my office and they tell me, Mr. Solis, can I talk to you? And a lot of my life is published. So I have different news articles on my wall or whatnot. So my kids, they know my story. And they're like, Mr. Solis, you've been through a lot in your life. Can you help me? Because you're someone that understands. And I'm not going to judge them because we've all made mistakes. You know, you can't fix people, but you can't fix the problem. So let's look at the problem. What can we really do?
Mhm. And what has
Now,
been like, if you could recall the most memorable moment from one of these students, what would that be?
there was a young man he was gonna quit school.
Hmm.
He wasn't that far from graduating. He just wanted to work. And we had a conversation. I'm like, look, just give me 5 minutes because I legally can't stop you from not walking out of here. But I at least want you to listen to me.
Hmm.
So I started talking to him like, look, it's hard if you're gonna be at a disadvantage for the rest of your life. I mean, you really want to life is gonna be a fight. You really want to fight this fight with one arm tied behind your back. I mean, is that fair to you? Is that fair to your child? It's not. I want the best for you. I want you to leave this place, graduate, conquer the world, and come back and tell us your story. That's what I want for you. And he graduated.
I love that. That's such an inspiring story. I mean, and you are right. Like, there are a lot of kids out there that have parents, but their parents are not parenting. Let's just be honest.
They're
And
not. But I always tell these kids, look, we all have a past.
mhm,
No one's here because they want to be here. We're here because we're sent here, we've been voluntold. But every day is a new chapter. Every day the scoreboard is set to 0-0. So yesterday, your wins from yesterday, they don't matter. Your losses from yesterday, they don't matter. So my
mhm,
question to you is, how are we going to win today?
mhm. Exactly. Exactly. That's a good question to be asking kids. I mean, like, how are we gonna win? How are we gonna make this day matter?
Well,
And
I like to tell them stories, and I think they understand stories, especially when they're young and they're still finding out about life. And I tell them stories like my back when I was younger, back in the olden days when I used to play paintball.
mhm,
I used to play paintball almost on a semi-professional level. But I couldn't afford it, so I played with a pump action pistol. I had 10
mhm,
rounds in the tube and I had those little 12 grams as my air source. And but I love to play and I like to play often. So I learned to I learned how to maneuver, I learned how to fire, I learned how to be sneaky, how to be accurate because I couldn't rely on technology and life is going to be the same way. Sometimes you're going to be the underdog and we can cry about it, we can whine about it, or we can use what we have, learn from it, make it grow as a person and learn to win
mhm,
because every little victories are still a victory.
mhm. That is so true. And I love that you are doing this and that you are motivated behind it to help other people in teaching the community how to protect itself. I mean, that is something that a lot of people are not doing. And that's why I wanted to bring you on this show because I respect you in that aspect that you are providing something so unique that people really don't know about, but they should know about.
The last 13 months have been, it's been a different experience because I've been involved in a lot of searches the last 13 months and, people would tag me and say, "Hey, can you help out this family?" And or, "Hey, look, this person's missing." And my heart goes out to these families because I know what the wait is like. I
Mhm,
think back to, that day at the hospital when I was waiting for news, waiting for results. Just that long 7-hour wait to me was an eternity. And when someone loses someone, I feel that they're going through the same experience because they're looking for that lost person. They want their loved one back and they don't know where to start. And, that's why I go look for these people because unless you're a child, a pretty girl, or a rich person, the media is not really going to look for you. And law enforcement is limited in its capabilities because they're short on manpower and they're not trained in search and rescue. So they do what they can, but sometimes you have to just know where to look and how to look.
mhm,
So that's where I come in.
mhm,
And it's hard. When I got involved in this, my family told me, "I don't want you to do this because, what if you find something you don't want to find?" And I'm like, "Well, at least, I can give them closure."
mhm,
And I've had a few successful finds in the last 13 months. And, when you find someone and they're alive, it's a wonderful experience because you feel joy with the family. But when you
mhm,
find someone and, they're gone, you're the one that has to tell the family, "Hey, we found them." But
mhm,
at least you get to bring them home. And those people, they stay with you because the emotions from that moment, the cries from that moment,
mhm,
you hear that in your sleep. Those first few days, you're gonna relive that experience and you hold that forever.
mhm. That is true. And this is kind of like a way of like giving back to those because you had lost your wife too. And you know what that feels like. And that was from our previous episode that we have that story. But I understand where you're coming from because an answer is still an answer. If you don't have an answer, you're going to continue to grieve until you have that answer.
Very true.
And and a lot of people they're still looking, they're still searching, and but they don't have an answer. So the fact that you're doing the search and rescue is like this is your way of saying I want you to have closure like I did, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's powerful in itself right there. Oh my gosh. Um, so this now that we're on this topic of the search and rescue and everything, how that process works, do you go out and look for them in the woods and in the city, or is it
So
like
it
you
all
just
depends. It all depends. With Alzheimer's patients, they tend to, well, let me go back.
Mhm,
There's three kinds of people that you have to look for. You know, there's the people that know they're lost, like little kids. They know
mhm,
they're lost. They will eventually walk until they get tired and they'll stay stationary because they want to be found.
mhm,
Then you have people that don't know that they're lost. These are your Alzheimer's patients, your dementia patients. they have a one-track mind because they will walk for miles in the same direction. And for me, my grandparents had Alzheimer's, so my heart goes out to the family because I really try. I will look for them at night. I will track them at night if I have to. I will be out there with a flashlight looking for footsteps, anything just to find them because most of them also have medical conditions that they need medication, they need maintenance. So for them, once they're gone, that clock starts ticking. Uh, it's a different kind of search. And then you have the kids, the people that don't want to be found. Those are going to be your runaways. And there's different strategies for people like that. That's where we start looking at social media. We start talking to friends. You're playing detective. You're
Mhm.
looking at ring cameras and you're talking to all these friends trying to narrow down a search. So there is some psychology that's involved in it. There is some math involved in it as well, because if somebody's walking 2 miles an hour and they walk 3 hours, that's 6 miles. That's a 28 square mile search area. If I can get a direction of travel, that narrows it down by 75%. And we actually found a dementia patient last year using everyone from the city of Mesquite to help me find this lady within 45 minutes. And
Wow.
that was my proudest moment, involved in search and rescue. And I'm so grateful for everyone because I mean I had everyone sending me messages, hey, we saw her in such and such place, or we saw her at such and such street. And we were able to narrow the area down so much that when they finally called and said, hey, we found her, she was 300 yards from my location. I mean, we
Wow.
were we were that close, and I was just happy that we had a happy reunion that day. And my daughter, who's my biggest supporter, was actually there from the beginning to the end.
Wow. How is your daughter helping motivate you in this whole process? Like everything you're going through?
So my daughters are actually the reason why I do this. And I say this because if I want to build a better world for my kids, then I have to do my part. And I can't build a better world, a safer world for my kids staying online. So sometimes you have to get dirty. So I do the active shooter training and I do the survival training. And if need be, if a family is going through something, they need someone to help them look, I'll get the process starting. I'm not part of search and rescue teams. I've trained with search and rescue all the time, and I'm certified as a man tracker and a wilderness first responder, but I'm not part of a search and rescue team for a specific reason. Most of our teams cannot be deployed unless they're deployed by a law enforcement or some kind of government agency, and that can take 3 to 5 days.
Right.
You know, where if a family gets a hold of me, I can be there day one, and there's no cost to the family.
Hmm. Yes. And statistically speaking, like whenever someone goes missing, it's like the first 24 hours is the most crucial, and after 48 hours, it's almost impossible, correct?
For a child, the first 48 hours are going to be crucial. You want to find them as fast as possible. And this is where I do a class on counter kidnapping, counter custody for the kids. This is where I talk to the parents as well. I'm like, okay, how well do you know your kids? Who are their friends? Are you monitoring their social media? Because we have a lot of little girls that disappear because they meet someone on Facebook or TikTok or social media and they disappear because they're in contact with predators. We put so much information out there. I've looked at, people's social medias and I've been able to find out where they work, what time they go in, where they go shopping, who their kids are, what they drive, who their kids' teachers are, what kind of guns they have, because all that information they put out there. And in my last class, we actually dissected someone's social media where we got all the pictures that she posted of herself inside of her house, and we could actually draw out the blueprint of her house based on how many pictures she posted. You put that plus Google Earth. Now you have given the information how to get to your house, how to get to your room, and how to egress out of there. But that's information that we're putting out there.
Wow, that's crazy. Like I know that you can pretty much find anything on social media, but the fact that they post in their house all the time, you can triangulate their
You
location.
can triangulate because this room leads to this door leads to this hallway, this first door is going to be the bedroom, second door is going to be the bathroom. Because if you post a lot of pictures, people are smart. They'll start putting the pieces together.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Especially the predators for sure. So, oh my gosh, I'm in awe right now. Like it's really that dangerous for a lot of people, especially young adults, even adults in
Well,
general.
no, we're in Texas. Texas is, we're the sex trafficking highway of the United States. We're directly connected to Mexico. There's a lot of things going on that the media doesn't really talk about, but there's a lot of stuff in Texas going on. There is sex trafficking in every zip code in Texas.
Hmm. And I
So I
know.
tell these parents,
Mm.
tell the parents, talk to your kids, find out who their friends are, who are they talking to on social media. Sometimes the parents, will reach out to me, hey, my kid ran away. Was there a triggering event? Did you get in a fight? Did they skip school? Okay, do you know who their friends are? I don't know who her friends. Do you know do you have access to her social media? I don't have access to social media. Well, why not? What's her account? Well, whose phone is it? Well, it's her phone. Who's paying the bill? You are.
Hmm.
You pay the bill, you have control because at the end of the day, those are your kids, and it's going to be my way or the highway. And I'm not ashamed to tell parents to take control because we didn't have to deal with that growing up. We grew up before social media. Social media is the threat if we don't know how to control it.
Right. And education is key for these kids too, for sure. So I know growing up, being a mom too, my kids as well, I always taught them that they needed to be careful who they talk to and that they didn't have access to anything without my permission unless they were an adult. So it's like I did monitor all the things that they were talking to and the people they were talking to. And it was their friends were usually the ones that came over to my house, and I kept in contact with them. I was like, yeah, why don't you invite them over here instead of them you going over there? Because I don't know their friends' parents or anything like that, but I do know the kid. So I always had the kids come over to my house. I felt like that was a safer route.
No, it's always going to be safer. And I'm lucky. My daughter's 16, and we have a very good relationship. And I think it's like I go over fire, how to build a fire in my survival classes. And what I like to do is I get a lighter and I get a big stick. And I tell them I can have this lighter all day long. It's not going to catch the stick on fire because this little fire is not going to be enough to burn this log. But if I
Mhm,
build a fire, if I start out with tinder and kindling and small twigs and work my way up, you can burn down the forest. But you
mhm,
have to do this in order. And building a fire is like building a relationship. You have to know what you're looking for, and it has to be done in steps, and there are processes that have to be followed. I
mhm,
can get cedar bark and I can light on fire, but if I fluff it up and expose the fibers, catch the spark. That
mhm,
spark turns into flame just like that. Same thing with our parents and their kids. You have to build that relationship. You have to talk to them, spend time with them. And yes, sometimes they don't want to. Doesn't
mhm,
matter. Keep at it. They're gonna break down eventually because those are your kids. And
mhm.
even though sometimes you're the bad guy, they still love you. It's just that specific moment in time will pass.
Yes, exactly. So I know we don't have a lot of time left on this interview, but if someone wants to reach out to you for your next class, when is your next class?
My next class is going to be June 24th at 5 o'clock at the Box Springs Library.
All right. That's going to be a survival class or which?
That's going to be a survival class, and Telemundo is going to be there to record, and somebody else's too.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm going to make sure this episode is aired before then, like way before then, so we
Okay.
can get to as many people as possible. I just wanted to tell you thank you for doing what you're doing. It's a very unique passion that you have, and I just wanted to shed light on you that the community really appreciates you.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Do you also have a social media where people can reach out to you?
Oh, just Alfonso Solis. I'm public, so if they ever want to take a class or if they need help finding a loved one, reach out to me. Everything that I do, it comes from the heart, because
Absolutely.
ultimately the goal is that, you know, they don't experience some of the stuff that I experienced.
Hmm. And you are as genuine of a person as you speak. Like I remember our conversation when we were at the networking event with the ladies at the what was
I
it?
remember.
Yes.
It was at the
It
L Club, I think.
Yes, it was the Elks Lodge, I think it was, and, it's like when we were talking, it's like, wow, like, I think you and I, we were supposed to meet to have that conversation, like, we were supposed to be like, "Yeah, really need to connect for sure," so that's how all this started, so for our viewers out there, that's how Alfonso and I met. We met at the Elks Lodge at a networking event, and his story really inspired me to keep going, keep doing what I'm doing, so I just want to thank you again. So, our viewers, please go reach out to Alfonso if you want to attend one of his classes. All right, everybody. Thank you for your time and thank you for watching.